Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers gossip. Jack Brennan was nearly happy to indulge Nina Reeves' request when she showed up at his office hopeless to figure out how to get Willow Tate Kane off the hook for Drew Kane's firing. Jack held up his end of the bargain and managed to get the rearmost substantiation, that would have been a gut punch for Willow, thrown out. Still, Nina didn't do her part, and it's only a matter of time before Jack numbers that out. How will he handle her reneging on their agreement, and who'll eventually pay the price for it? Nina isn't finished. Nina must have been feeling a certain way about her relationship with Charlotte Cassadine to throw the whole plan to the side when brazened with the precise kind of intel that Jack was seeing. Perhaps Nina allowed. It was doubtful Charlotte would have had any information on Valentine Cassadine. But the alternate Charlotte started to unmask the tea. Nina wanted to spot it all up. GH spoilers boast Jack doesn't play nice. It's enough egregious from the way that Jack has dealt with nearly everyone differently we've ever seen him interact with, that he expects everyone on his platoon to bow down and act consequently. Nina seems a little bit perturbed but also bothered that Jack is going to figure this out, and that's valid. He seems to have eyes and cognizance far and wide. The liability that the WSB agent tagging along with Charlotte doesn't report every detail back to Jack is slim. Nina might suppose she was clever or indeed in the clear because she formally got Jack to see through his end of the bargain, but he's not that dumb, which makes me question if she is. Willow pays the price? Jack is always right on the mark with knowing how to put the pressure on people in the right places. For Nina, nothing is more important to her than what little family she has. Willow means the world to her, and she negotiated with Jack for her. So it makes sense that Jack would find a way to undo what he did to help Nina, and accordingly, Willow, if Nina doesn't hold up her end of the deal. That might not mean getting the videotape footage admitted into substantiation, but new ruinous substantiation turning up that makes Willow look shamed than ever could do the job. Can't you just see it? Port Charles rarely sleeps, rarely rests, rarely breathes without expecting the next disaster. Yet even in a city built on betrayals and buried truths, nothing stings deeper than discovering a traitor in your own circle, someone you trusted, someone you protected, someone you believed incapable of deception. That is why this day burns like acid across Jack Brennan's mind. Because Nina Reeves, the pleader, the negotiator, the desperate mother, has become something far more dangerous, a liar who broke a bargain. This story does not begin with kindness. It begins with baptism. A baptism in rage. A baptism in consequences. A baptism that will purify through pressure, or destroy through fire. Jack Brennan, the man who lives behind steel eyes and iron morals, once believed strategy was stronger than emotion. He agreed to Nina's plea because he saw opportunity. Because he saw her desperation. Because he knew someone willing to cry and beg is someone who will obey, if given the right chain to pull them by. He held up his end of the deal. He used his power. WSB contacts, legal strings, underground whispers. To bury evidence that would have obliterated Willow Tate Kane. A video. A damning angle. A flash of a gun. A whisper that would have turned a jury into executioners. Jack removed it. He held the sword in his hand, then laid it aside. For Nina. That was the baptism of mercy. And now comes the baptism of wrath. Because Nina did not repay him. She did not follow through. She did not deliver what he demanded. And Jack, a man who believes that betrayal is a language punishable by destruction, feels that familiar burn coil into his chest. What did Nina do? She let emotion win. She let Charlotte Cassadine, frightened, trembling, messy with information, melt her loyalty. In Jack's mind, betrayal is betrayal, even if tears and motherhood are the excuse. Charlotte whispered secrets. The kind Jack waited for. Intel on Valentine Cassadine. Trails leading to leverage. Possibility of power. And Nina, instead of funneling that information into Jack's machine, absorbed it. Protected it. Chose loyalty to a child she barely understands over loyalty to the man who saved her daughter's life from prison. In Jack Brennan's logic, that is traitor behavior. And traitors do not get forgiven. Traitors get crushed. Jack sits alone in his office. Lights dim. Whiskey untouched. Documents spread like bodies on a battlefield. He stares at a folder that once held damning evidence. Empty. Because he removed it, for Nina. A baptism, a purification. But instead of gratitude, he feels poison. He whispers to himself, a mantra forged in pain. No one uses me, and walks away clean. He stands. Button snaps on his suit. The ritual begins. Because this is no ordinary confrontation. He will baptize Nina in fear. He will show her the weight of her debt. He will carve those 4 words into her soul. Nina walks into his office with a trembling breath, unaware that the floor beneath her is already cracking. Jack does not greet her. He does not gesture for her to sit. He watches her like a wolf studying prey. She tries soft words. The kind she always uses when she fears she's wrong. Jack. I can explain. He cuts the air with silence sharper than any blade. His gaze alone baptizes her. You had one task. Her heartbeat stutters. He steps closer. You chose her over me. She chokes out, Charlotte is just a child. And with that, Jack releases the first spoken strike. You owe me everything. When Jack finally speaks the 4 words, he does it like a sermon. A curse. A prophecy that will haunt her. He leans in, voice low, unforgiving. You betrayed the wrong man. 4 words. 4 weapons. 4 graves waiting. Nina feels something collapse inside her, not guilt, but terror. Because those words are a sentence. A promise. A threat with no exit. For every other broken soul watching this war unfold, there is a whisper of strength rising in the background. Let this be a warning. Do not bow to fear. Do not let manipulation define your worth. Stand tall, even when storms rise. Loyalty must be earned, not demanded. Betrayal may bruise you, but truth can resurrect you. This is the encouragement the world needs. The flame in the darkness. But Nina. She does not get encouragement. She gets consequences. Jack circles her, verbally, emotionally, like a predator. I gave you power. I saved your family. And you repay me by thinking I wouldn't know? His eyes narrow. Every whisper reaches me. Every secret returns. He steps even closer. I will take what you love most. The way you almost took what I needed. Nina gasps. He is threatening Willow. He is threatening Michael. He is threatening the last fragments of her life she hasn't already ruined. His voice splits the room. If you cannot pay me, she will. Will Willow be framed? Yes, Jack knows exactly how. A new piece of evidence. A witness suddenly remembering. A prosecutor smelling blood. Headlines screaming guilt. A courtroom turning cold. Jack's strategy is not loud. It is surgical. He believes pain teaches better than mercy. He believes consequences baptize the soul. In this moment, Nina realizes. This is her fault. Her gamble. Her heart made the wrong choice. She whispers, barely breathing. Please, don't hurt her. Jack finally smiles, not kindly. But like a man who knows he just won a war without lifting a sword. Your words mean nothing now. Outside this confrontation. Port Charles whispers. What will he do? Will Nina finally lose everything? Will Willow pay, again, for someone else's sins? Will Michael strike back? Will this ignite a war that even sunny Corinthos cannot control? Because Nina's betrayal is not small. It is a stone dropped in a lake. And the ripples will drown many. In the waning days of a turbulent year, Port Charles exists in a state of suspended animation. The twinkling Christmas lights, remnants of a holiday more fraught with tension than cheer, now seem to blink in anticipation of the coming storm. For its residents, the threshold of the new year is not a clean line but a jagged edge, separating the trauma of the past from a future thick with peril and possibility. This moment is defined by three powerful, converging forces: the tentative baptism of recovery and return, the life-altering power of encouraging words, and the ever-present undercurrent of angry threats that promise to shape the days to come. As the calendar prepares to turn, personal battles for health and truth collide with epic struggles for power and survival, proving that in this town, hope and danger are inextricably linked. Baptism begins, the gray zone and the path back to the light. The most poignant and powerful baptism unfolding is not happening on screen, but in the resilient life of actress Kirsten Storms. Her journey since being diagnosed with a brain aneurysm has been a private, arduous pilgrimage, a baptism by fire and fear that has tested her strength in the most fundamental ways. Her move to Tennessee, stepping away from the relentless pace of Port Charles, was an act of profound self-preservation, a retreat to gather her resources for the fight ahead. In the quiet of this distance, a new kind of genesis has begun. Her recent update from the gray zone is, in itself, a sacrament of shared vulnerability and dawning hope. The medical terminology, a space between super small and mandatory surgery, mirrors the emotional limbo she has inhabited. It is a purgatory of weighing terrifying options, the invasive certainty of a coiling procedure against the anxious vigilance of monitoring an unseen, potential threat. This gray zone is her Gethsemane, a place of solitary decision-making. Yet, from this uncertain ground, a baptism of perspective is emerging. Storm's acknowledgement of the support from fans, the messages and stories that offered unseen solace, reveals a transformative realization. The connection forged through a character, Maxie Jones, has become a lifeline for the woman who portrays her. This communion of shared experience is washing away the isolation of illness, baptizing her in a community of collective hope. Her tentative promise, "Maybe you will be seeing me back in Port Charles soon," is more than a spoiler. It is a declaration of intent, the first step out of the healing waters and back toward the world. This personal baptism directly sanctifies the impending on-screen one for Maxie Jones. Waking from a coma is the ultimate narrative baptism, a rebirth into a world utterly changed. The man she mourned, Nathan West, walks the earth again, albeit shrouded in mystery. To open her eyes to his face would be a baptism of seismic shock and disorienting joy, a visceral plunge from a world of loss into one of impossible second chances. Storm's own hard-won strength will inevitably infuse Maxie's return, making the character's freak-out-worthy story not just a plot point, but a testament to survival. The actress's journey through the gray zone becomes the character's passage through the valley of the shadow, each emerging, baptized, into a new and fragile dawn. Encouraging words, wisdom, warnings, and the machinery of justice. In Port Charles, encouraging words are a rare and potent currency, often exchanged in shadows or under duress. They come not as hollow platitudes, but as crucial intelligence, strategic guidance, or the hard-won insights of experience. As the week of December 29th unfolds, these verbal lifelines are tossed across the churning narrative waters, some offering a handhold to safety, others revealing the sharp edge of the cliff. The legal arena becomes a primary theater for these exchanges. Alexis Davis, fighting for Willow's life in the courtroom, is done playing defense. Her decision to call Portia Robinson to the stand is a tactical shift of monumental risk. The encouraging words here are not warm, but procedural and deadly serious. They are the pointed questions designed to dismantle a facade. When Portia is reduced to a tearful puddle, begging, "Please don't do this," it signifies that Alexis's words have struck the core of a devastating secret. This is encouragement of a brutal sort, the kind that insists on truth, no matter how destructive, to forge a path toward justice. Alexis's promised new strategy as they head back to court in the new year is built on the foundation of these devastating verbal confrontations. Outside the courtroom, wisdom is dispensed in more personal, yet equally critical, doses. Cody Bell, often seen as a lovable schemer, proves he has some wisdom to share. In a town run on cynicism, his genuine, hard-earned insight could serve as an unexpected encouragement to someone lost in their own troubles, perhaps offering a perspective untainted by the usual Quartermaine or Corinthos agendas. Similarly, as Trina Robinson is ready to make a commitment, she will undoubtedly seek and receive encouraging words from those she trusts, words that affirm her heart's choice in a world that frequently punishes vulnerability. But not all encouraging words are benevolent. Tracy Quartermaine's word of warning to Michael Corinthos falls into a darker category. It is encouragement born of foresight and familial duty, a grim alert to dangers he may be too enmeshed to see. It's likely tied to their shared scheming and the phone call they discussed, a plot that may now be spiraling beyond their control. Her warning is an attempt to baptize him in cold reality before the storm hits. Even Valentine Cassidy's assurances to Carly are a form of encouraging words, though their value is highly suspect. In a world where Cassidine promises are famously double-edged, his encouragement may be the prelude to a trap, forcing Carly to question whether his words are a lifeline or a leash. Angry threats, the gavel of power and the roar of retribution. If encouraging words are the sparks, angry threats are the wildfire that continually threatens to consume Port Charles. They are the blunt instruments of power, the vocalizations of desperate fear, and the promises of coming violence. As the old year gasps its last, these threats form a cacophonous chorus, directing the town's turbulent momentum into the new year. The master of this dark symphony remains Jen Sidwell. His promised confrontation with Drew Cain is the week's central act of intimidation. This is not a mere argument, it is a pedagogical angry threat, a lesson in power dynamics. When Sidwell corners Drew, his words will be meticulously crafted to terrify and subordinate. He will revisit the murder of Judge Heron not as a confession, but as a case study, a warning of what happens to liabilities. His threat is multi-pronged, a direct physical danger to Drew, and a more insidious, judicial threat to Willow's future. His gloating over bribing the judge in the custody case is the foundation, proving his corruption is absolute. The new threat, that he can just as easily buy a guilty verdict for Willow, is the crushing application of that power. He transforms the law from a system of justice into a weapon of personal vengeance, his angry threats serving as the legal briefs of a tyrant. This clash sets the stage for the week's most volatile discovery. Willow stumbles across a secret. The seamless narrative logic points directly to her overhearing Sidwell's gloating confession. The angry threats she hears aimed at Drew would, in an instant, become personal revelation. The knowledge that Sidwell is the architect of her deepest pain, the loss of her children, would catalyze a transformation within her. Her own angry threats would then erupt, not from a place of calculated strategy, but from a primal, maternal fury. This eruption is the pivot point. A quietly defiant Willow, planning a secret visit for Scout, becomes a woman with nothing left to lose, her rage a baptism into a new kind of danger. By confronting Sidwell, she would exchange the covert threat of Drew's domestic wrath for the mortal threat of Sidwell's lethal efficiency, putting a target on her own back and potentially Drew's. The climate of threat is pervasive. Sonny Corinthos, the once undisputed king, finds himself issuing a warning to his own son, Michael. This paternal angry threat is layered with history and heartbreak, a father's brutal attempt to steer a stubborn son from a catastrophic path, likely related to Michael's vendettas and alliances. It's a threat born of fear, a king seeing his heir charge toward a cliff. Even the enigmatic Nathan West's return is shrouded in implicit threat. As he bonds with Lulu, the spoiler's question, is all as it seems? Hangs in the air like a blade. His very presence is a threat to the fragile reality everyone has built in his absence, promising emotional chaos for Maxie, Lulu, and Britt. The final days of the year and the first of the new one see these threads, baptism, encouragement, threat, tighten into a narrative noose. The personal and the political become inseparable. The gray zone and the courtroom. Kirsten Storm's real-life gray zone of medical decision-making finds its echo in Willow's legal limbo. Both women are weighing terrifying futures, surrounded by encouraging words from allies and angry threats from adversaries. Willow's potential discovery is the aneurysm in her own life story, a hidden, dangerous truth that could rupture everything. The return and the reckoning, the hopeful possibility of Maxie's, and Storm's, return is juxtaposed against the brutal reckoning in the courtroom. As one woman fights for her health, another fights for her freedom. The encouraging words of a fan community support the former, the angry threats of a bribed system besiege the latter. Legacy and the future. The special reruns honoring Anthony Geary's Luke Spencer and the past reunion of Lulu and Charlotte are a baptism in nostalgia, reminding viewers of the legacy of love and chaos that defines Port Charles. This legacy now falls to a new generation: Christina, caught off guard; Trina, making a commitment; Dante, taking a meeting that could alter his future. They step into a world where the encouraging words of their parents are often drowned out by the angry threats of figures like Sidwell. As the first new episode of 2026 arrives, Port Charles stands on a knife's edge. Alexis deploys her new strategy, a verbal offensive. Laura receives new orders, a threatening mandate she must choose whether to obey. Sunny warns Michael, a patriarch trying to hold a crumbling empire together. And at the center, Willow, baptized by a terrible truth, must decide whether the encouraging words of her own rage will lead her to scream that truth to the heavens, or whether she will swallow it, letting it poison her from within. The message of the coming year is clear: in Port Charles, hope is not given, it is seized. Recovery is a battle fought in gray zones. Justice is a weapon wielded by the highest bidder. And every new beginning, a year, a life after illness, a waking from a coma, is first baptized in the turbulent waters of the past, steered by fragile encouraging words, and forever shadowed by the echo of angry threats. The ball has dropped. The fight is on.